Oh, and can I say another thing about Metroid? Ridley is the lamest villain. All right, greetings and welcome to the Supply Drop, episode 31, a game podcast created by three people who were tired of listening to other video game podcasts. My name is Nate. I'll be your host. I'm joined by my two other co-hosts, the first of which is Scott. Scott.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Scott. Oh,
Sorry.
Scott. Typically, I ask you a question, but
Yeah.
I don't think I'm asking questions this week.
You
You're
don't
not
feel
asking
like it?
questions.
Okay.
No.
Not
I'll
just,
Scott, are
answer
you
one
asking a
anyway.
question?
Yeah. In November, I upgraded to Windows 11. I know this is going to sound boring, but there seem to be a lot of gamers out there that are apprehensive about going to Windows 11, and I can say that do it. I've had it was a smooth transition. I had some issues until I installed all of the drivers for my chipsets and updated all of that. And since then, it's been fantastic, and I love it. So,
I like this question.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm a dirty console peasant. I have no idea what Scott just said. I'm just like this. When he says Windows 11, does he mean Steam? Is that what he means when he says those words?
Steam's on there.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
get Steam on there.
Yeah.
Okay. The other co-host is obviously Thick.
Hello.
Thick, do you have a question?
I do
for the
have a
game?
question.
I
What
think we're prepared.
what is one of the first as a kid, what did you rent at the video store?
Oh, rental. Yeah, we're talking games, right?
And not just games, but any I rented cartoons. I'll give you an example for me.
I rented everything.
Everything?
I think
Okay.
I started with A, and I mean, how much time do we have?
I don't know. What was it? I rented He-Man. He-Man was one of the first videos I rented as a kid.
So is He-Man
cool.
the movie?
Yeah, no, was it the cartoon?
Oh,
Then
that's
I
a choice.
rented the movie eventually.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
It was different.
So I'm gonna stick my answer to video games. I remember. Do you remember was it called Clay Fighter?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
For some reason, I remember going to my supermarket, and my supermarket had a rental section. Did you guys have supermarkets that had a little rental section, like a mini Blockbuster in there?
I didn't have Blockbuster close by. It was something else.
Okay.
It's some
Yeah.
random brand. I don't know. I don't remember at this point.
Okay. I just remember Clay Fighter for some reason, and let me piggyback on your question, Thick. When you guys were going to your Blockbuster, were you just skimming the new release section, which is on the outside, or were you going into the classics in the middle?
The adult section. No, I don't remember. I remember it was on the sidewall with all the new releases, but normally I just go wherever. Sometimes it's hard to find stuff because people rent out everything, right?
Right.
And it's
Scott,
kind of
I went in
did
the
you go?
middle. Yeah, mostly in the
Went in the
middle. Yeah, I mean, if you didn't get there like first thing Friday morning, you weren't getting that new release. So
Oh, okay.
I ran in the middle. But I do have a funny story. I rented a PS2 when it first came out.
ooh.
You could and for
Yeah.
people that don't know, you could actually go to a Blockbuster and rent a new console and take it home for a weekend and play it for like $20.
It was $20 at the time.
So I got the PS2 and I got it. I rented. I don't remember what I rented, but it didn't have a memory card.
Oh, okay.
So I played all weekend. I just never turned it off, and I had to and I didn't want to switch games, and it was like I can't believe this is just terrible. So it came in this big case, and I took it apart. I put it in this big case. And I tilted the case over so I could get the controller in. And at the very bottom, under this little sleeve, popped out a memory card.
Okay.
So I spent all weekend dealing with not having a memory card for a PS2, which
But it was there.
it was there. I was so mad, but yeah, it was still an experience.
What game were you leaving on pause the whole time?
I want to say it was what's it called? Onimusha,
Oh yeah,
the very first one.
Yeah.
I think that's what
okay.
it was. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I know I rented it again later, and I knew what I was doing at that. I knew where to look in the case for it, but
Okay.
I think that's what I was. Like anybody walk near it, it's like don't touch that, don't turn it off. But yeah, that's how it worked back then.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a great place for kids because a lot of kids would get a couple of games a year, right? Your parents would be like, "We're gonna get you one for Christmas. We'll get you one for
yeah."
So
that was N64. It was $80, wasn't it, per game?
At least 70.
70, yeah.
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 And 70 back then, if you do the exchange rates, it was like $792 today.
Right. Yeah. It's like you take out a loan to buy a game.
That's right. All right. Well, without further ado, let's get into how the week was, and let's start with Scott. Scott, how was your week? Are you going to talk more about Windows 11 and Steam? How they're the same?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I am. I'm just kind of excited about it. It's going to a new operating system. If you don't know, is nail biting. I mean, you hit that upgrade button and it could go really wrong. It could go really bad.
Yeah.
And if you actually don't have a copy of Windows 10 to fall back on, it could be even worse. But upgrading to Windows 11 was very easy. I've done some horrendous upgrades before, and this was basically I couldn't believe how fast it was. I clicked it. It said, okay, do this and this, and then I went, I ate dinner. I came back and it was 90%. And I think it rebooted twice, and I had Windows 11. I mean, that's just not what I'm used to as far as coming back
Windows,
to Windows, right? Right. Had everything worked. I didn't have any issues with anything. I did have some lockups. In gaming, it started getting very frequent, but then I realized I hadn't upgraded basically the software that comes with your motherboard and everything that comes with it. I relied on Windows to do that, and that's a mistake. So once I installed all that, it has been fantastic. Using Windows Explorer, you have tabs now, so you can click a tab and you can have two things open in Windows Explorer, just like a website. And as far as gaming, the game bar that you can bring up, which is basically like your Xbox button that brings up your party, your mic, your who's on, who's not, that kind of thing, has been way more stable in Windows 11 than Windows 10. So,
do you happen to use that for recording videos? Like I use it for recording clips when I'm on PC.
Yeah, I've got it set. There's a clip button and there's a record button. You can record, I think, up to 2 hours.
It's a meaty file, though.
It is, yeah. I kind of do it in chunks, but it works great. I've had, I think I've just had one video that didn't turn out. Toward the end, the sound or something started breaking up, but other than that, it works great. And going into party chat. Before in Windows 10, it would drop me from the party just for no reason. I would be talking and go, boop, you're out of the party. And since I've gone to Windows 11, that hasn't happened yet. So I haven't had any issues.
Scott, what inspired you to make this, momentous shift in your life?
Just trying to stay on top of things. Playing on console for 20 years and coming back to PC, back in the day, you had a habit of hanging on to that, Windows CE, Windows 98 SE, for dear life, not wanting to go to ME or 2000 or even XP.
Well, that would make sense.
Well, right, it did back then because historically Windows has been like, oh, this is great, this version's excellent. The next one is total garbage, right? And then the next one is great. Up until Windows 8 was god awful, but Windows 10 was fantastic. But that's what you remember when it first comes out. It's terrible. Yeah. Until you get used to it. So I went ahead and did it, and as far as like my gaming experience with it, it's been really, really good.
Seamless, you might say.
Yeah. So try it out. You do have like 7 days, I believe, if it's not to your liking or if you just don't care for it. You can just revert back to Windows 10. Just go back to Windows 10. It does its little thing. It reboots a couple times, and you're back to where you were.
Okay. Right. Well, you're talking to a guy that couldn't get into a Steam account. So what you're talking about sounds like a few levels above my pay grade.
Well, it's actually Windows 11. The interface is more, I hate to say, mobile-like. So if you use your phone a lot more than a PC, it may get It may be a little more familiar to you than say Windows 10.
Okay. Very good, Scott. Very good.
Well, so upgrade.
Say,
Do it.
Upgrade. And you're not getting paid by Microsoft, right?
Not as far as I know.
Okay. All right. Thick. How did your week go?
It
Was it
wasn't
as
too
exciting
bad.
as Scott's?
Not as exciting, but I have to say I beat the campaign to Power Wash Simulator. That's why I had that picture up earlier.
Wow, you cleaned everything.
I cleaned. Well, there are some challenge missions now that I've been trying to complete, and they're based on how much water you use and how much time, like one or the other. And I, for the life of me, cannot do it right now. Like, I could just casually clean on campaign because there's no limit to anything, right? But then once I get to like these limits, it's like a new game almost, like New Game Plus. Yeah, right now I'm trying to figure out the technique to really approach cleaning these things without like using up all the resources or using all the time.
So there is a little bit of a game aspect to it.
Yeah. I mean, that's mostly what I've been playing. I've been playing more Rocket League. I've been still super interested in that. A little Overwatch, most of the live service games, right? And then I played a little Beat Saber earlier last week. Didn't get too much. I think, like there's some levels where you have to kind of like squat down to avoid like this incoming brick that goes over your head. And I'm like, oh, my knees cannot handle this right now. So I stopped for a little bit.
What are you playing that on?
Quest 2.
Cool.
Yeah, not PSVR, but yeah.
So Sony hasn't sent us one.
No, we're waiting.
I don't know what's going on with that.
We're ready.
I know.
One of their biggest mistakes they're making.
Right.
Not saying this one. So wait. I've heard a bunch of names that you've listed, but you haven't told us that you're playing Metroid Prime Remaster. Why did that not come up?
With that one, I bought
It's your favorite game of all time.
It is.
It's your favorite game of all time.
I bought the physical edition. I bought it like a day or two after they announced it. And, I got it on Amazon. Supposedly it was supposed to come in, was it this week or this coming week, the 22nd? I got delayed till March 27th.
What?
Yeah. But I mean, it could still change.
Wow.
But I'm probably going to buy it digital because I'm that much of a fan. But, I'm kind of waiting for some deals on eShop credit. That's usually what I do. I wait for like discounts. I think you could like use your GameStop Pro membership. Like you get $5 a month and you could use that towards currency. So that's what I usually do.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that GameStop membership actually has some value.
It does. It has pretty good value right now. Although I think eventually they're going to stop doing that once they get enough members. This is how they get you.
GameStop's still hanging on.
Still hanging on
as
money. They just got I think they got a new CEO or something. I don't know. It's the CEO of the week.
I don't know. Do you guys remember what they were trying to do? Trying to make GameStop more like kind of like a hangout spot. Yeah. But that hasn't really come to fruition as far as I know.
All the
GameStop.
Whenever I see a GameStop, I try to, I don't try to go into them, but if I'm in the mall, I'm gonna swoop around in there. I don't see them changing other than the fact that the majority of those GameStops now are like merchandise. It's like T-shirts and like
there's a lot.
Yeah.
In fact, I got some pretty good deals, like $3 on a T-shirt. I was like, okay, sure.
Right.
No, that's pretty good. Yeah, their website is mostly toys and
they sell phones
Funkos.
too.
Yeah, and cell phones, trade in cell phones, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw my first PlayStation 5 in a store the other day.
Ooh.
Oh.
Very first one.
Okay.
2023. Yep.
Wow, first one in 2
Times
years.
are
They had
changing.
2 of them. I know, right?
You didn't go up to the sticks and like jiggle them like a little kid?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, the controller's nice. I wouldn't mind having one of the controllers to play on PC because I don't know, it just feels better playing Spider-Man with the PlayStation controller.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it would make sense.
It's like playing Halo with a PlayStation controller. Just
doesn't feel right.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah. All right, let me jump into my week real quick. A non-video game related question. You're in a fancy restaurant and it's nautical themed, right? You're picturing a nautical themed restaurant.
Okay.
Dishes are.
I've got one.
You have one. Okay. This is great. This is a great question for you.
Okay.
People right now are turning up the dials in their car trying to listen to the answer that you're about to give.
Right.
Okay.
What is the music that's playing in your nautical themed restaurant?
Let me see if I remember that.
Let me buy you some time. So I went to one this week, and they were playing Frank Sinatra music. I'm like,
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I think it was Bobby Darin. It's probably
all right.
the Nemo song, whatever the name of that song is.
Thick, do you see the problem with this?
Not really. I
the
guess
heck?
when you say nautical thing, I'm thinking like
Ships.
ships and kind of
Seafood.
like
Yeah,
seafood, like fake crabs in
well,
the air. Nets.
I mean, you want sea shanties, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
or
pirate
like,
movies. Arr.
Yeah, what is that?
Maybe some
Pirates of the Caribbean
accordions.
theme
I'm
song.
expecting some accordions going on.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Like Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, okay. I was pretty upset when I was listening to like Frank Sinatra, and they were playing Michael Bublé. They were playing all these,
Oh, did
Well-
you let them know?
I almost
maybe
did.
your Yelp
I
review?
almost did.
Okay.
Yeah, I demand sea shanties. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
a
really.
restaurant that here it's no longer there anymore, but yeah, they had the blue lighting against the wall, and they had these like reflective, like little round things that like it almost looked like glitter, like that they would hang on the wall and it would shimmer like fish skin, and they did that. They played like Bobby Darin and
Right.
Frank Sinatra, and I don't know what the connection is with that, but it was very
okay.
outdated.
All right. Real quick video game talk. I'm winding down on Wipeout, but I figured out why I like Wipeout better than traditional racing games. You guys ready for this?
Yes.
A racing game is essentially 3 parts, right? It's how you enter the turn, it's executing the turn, and it's exiting the turn, right?
Yeah.
So when you play a Forza or a Gran Turismo, those turns are the exciting part of the experience, right?
Right. That's where your skill comes in. Yeah.
Yeah, but in between the turns, you're just waiting 9 seconds, and you're either slowly catching up or you're slowly falling behind. Like that's like the boring section, right? What do you mean, Scott? What's that face? Scott's
It
making a face
depends.
right
I mean, you have to have a little bit of strategy there, because if you the turn that's coming up,
now. Yeah,
you don't want to be
position.
in. Yeah, you have to be in the right position, but you also have to make sure you're not like
Hitting
there's not a
someone,
car
kinda.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but typically in between turns, there's not a ton of like action going on in your controller.
No,
You're kind of like,
well, no.
Right.
You're just I mean, if there's no other cars around, you're basically like, I'm gonna
Right.
take this route and wait for
Yeah.
the turn to come up. I see.
the thing with Wipeout, it does 2 things really well. First of all, I feel like the sense of speed, you're not getting 15 second straights very often in that game. But also, you ready for this? There's these little speed pads on the ground you got to get on your straights.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's like you have things to do while you're on your straight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my entire premise why these games might be a little more interesting than
I
Gran
see
Turismo.
your point. I guess I kind of view racing games kind of as a rhythm game in a way.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
it's basically you got to get everything right, and then when
Right.
you get it right.
Mhm.
But the thing is, it's a rhythm game where you're against other players,
Yeah.
players or NPCs. So you have to account for their position as well. Now, unlike the sim ones, you can't bump into people.
Right.
I know as a kid I would just bump into people, whatever. But like to play it properly, you don't bump into people, and that's part of the, like kind of adapting your
Right.
straightaways or whatever. And you draft or whatever. In Mario Kart, they have that drafting mechanic.
Right.
And then I guess Mario Kart 2 has the items, which kind of changes up straights, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
They're all just different rhythm games to me, and I like most of them.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me, I was playing was it the Hot Wheels one this week? I was actually playing that too.
Yeah, I've downloaded that. I haven't tried it yet.
Wait, is it the Forza? Is it the Forza DLC?
No,
It's straight up Hot Wheels.
I'm trying to
It's
remember
a
it. Do you remember
standalone
the
game.
name of it? I just think Hot Wheels. That's all I remember.
Okay. Okay.
But like they have like the model cars look great in it. Like they look like actual model cars.
Mhm.
But what's really annoying about the game sometimes is just some of the obstacles and like the rubber banding. It's pretty annoying in the game.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's better, F-Zero or Wipeout?
I'm a Nintendo fanboy, so I'd probably say F-Zero. I like the GameCube one. I don't know if you guys heard of GX. That's supposed to be the hardest one, and it was pretty hard. Like you can destroy your vehicle in that one, and then like it's just game over.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. I know. So I was really getting into Wipeout the past few weeks, and I will look at like prior Wipeouts. Like the one that I'm think is the best one is 2048. There's 3 of them in the Omega Collection. 2048. I think it's the last game they made. It feels like the most advanced.
Okay.
But then I'm watching like old F-Zero clips to see how they kind of compare. I feel like they're
similar. They're meant
similar,
to be
yeah.
competitors, right?
Yeah.
There was one game on PS2 that actually made me interested in buying a PS2 at the time. I think it was called Kinetica. I don't know if you guys.
It was one of those futuristic racers.
Yeah. It was like a bike racer. Like it seems like you could zoom up walls and everything, and you know, like that sort of thing was novel at the time for me.
Right.
So I never bought it, but like I ended up buying a JRPG. But you know, I still like those racers. I just haven't played one in a while.
Yeah. I do know. I think I told you guys this last week, but like it is so fun to see your progress in that game. So like the first time you get on a track, you know, you do bad, but then you do slightly better, and you see that you're increasing your ability on the track. And then what happens at a certain point after you're on a track for an hour, especially if you're racing your ghost, you're like, oh my gosh, in order to beat my ghost, I gotta put another hour into this thing, and hopefully I'll beat it. And that's when I'm like, okay, I think I'm done with racing games, right? It's like that carrot on the stick has to be like 5 to 10 minutes away. It can't be 60 minutes away or more, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's a racing game. It should be fast.
I know. Yeah. All right. Enough of that talk. Let's get to the drop. The drop is the segment of our podcast where we talk about last week's most intriguing news stories. Scott, why don't you kick us off here?
Yeah, I got this story right here. Embracer Group, and we know that they bought the Lord of the Rings franchise. And there are 5 games already in development that are Lord of the Rings games. Some of these we know, like Lord of the Rings Gollum, which got delayed again because everybody saw it and just didn't want to play it.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings Return to Moria, which actually looks interesting. That's the dwarf, strategy kind of, there's also an EA mobile game called Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle-earth. And Weta is making a game. And we haven't talked about this because they announced it and we haven't heard anything. And I assumed it would get canceled once Embracer bought this. But Weta Workshop, now this is the company that did all the special effects for Lord of the Rings movies, and it was created by Peter Jackson. They've apparently said, hold my beer, we're making a game. And it's a large open world RPG set in the Lord of the Rings universe. It's been in development for several years, and they did announce it last year. And it's not canceled at all. The Embracer Group has partnered with Private Division, which is the publisher of the game, and it's supposedly coming out in March 2024. So basically a year from now.
Okay. Not too far.
Yeah, so that's good news, I guess. I mean, 5 games it's kind of like the Star Wars franchise. Everybody's got their Star Wars game. They've kind of opened it up, and we've only seen basically 2 come out. One from EA, and then one from Respawn. We're getting the sequel in a couple of months with that, and both of those turned out really well. So I'm hoping that these games are going to be not terrible. But that's kind of big news. Embracer seems to be just really doubling down on Lord of the Rings. They're talking about doing some more movies and possibly another TV show.
Wait a second. Of Lord of the Rings, they want to do more movies?
Lord of the Rings. And of course, the Amazon Lord of the Rings was already in development. All of these games were already in development when they bought the franchise.
Okay.
And apparently they've looked at them and they said, hey, these look great. Keep doing what you're doing. So, which doesn't happen, right? Usually when somebody gets bought, they're like, nah, we're canceling all that. We're doing our own thing. So
I have 2 quick questions for you guys, both of you guys. Number one, what did Weta do prior to this? Do they have a kind of a
like gaming history? I don't feel like I
remember going to their website.
I remember also going to their website. Yeah, and I remember that website did not give you the feeling that these were a cutting edge technology company.
They do more like special effects. Yeah.
Yeah, they were created to do Lord of the Rings special effects.
Okay.
which is kind of odd. But let's not forget that George Lucas created Industrial Light and Magic. Industrial Light and Magic broke off and made LucasArts. LucasArts made some of our favorite games of all time.
That's true.
So this is kind of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Kinda, but we'll see if this thing is still in development. It's been in development for years, and they've got a release date of next year. That's promising that we'll actually get to see this thing. We might even see this at E3 this year.
Do you think it's AA or AAA?
It's hard to tell. I mean, this isn't a gaming studio. This is a studio that makes, movies.
Right.
But like I said, I'm just kind of hoping they have the LucasArts magic and do the same thing where, Industrial Light and Magic said, let's make some video games.
Mm-hmm.
And
remember
that's what
Ken
we
at
got.
Bridge of Spirits? Remember that company?
Yeah.
They were not a gaming company either, and they seemed to do all right on their first outing, right?
Yeah.
I think it was a really safe game, but it looked really beautiful.
Yeah, right. Thick, this is my question for you. Do you want this open world RPG to be a retelling of Frodo's, journey to
I think I'm fine with whatever. I think if we've seen what Hogwarts has done, as long as it kind of pays homage to it, I think it's fine.
Okay. And then I have one more question for both of you, and I'm just going to read your facial expressions if you don't want to say it. But I'm assuming we all saw the Amazon Lord of the Rings?
I did not finish it.
No.
Oh, I did not watch it yet, but
Okay.
I plan to eventually. Maybe was it President's Day? Maybe I'll start an episode.
Yeah, I don't remember when I stopped watching it, but it wasn't as bad as I think everybody was saying. But then again, maybe I didn't get to that episode. I don't know.
Okay, all right. Well, I didn't. I think I watched like 4 episodes, and I was
You were good?
I was one of the crazy people who are like, this is awful, and
Awful. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't. I didn't think it was Lord of the Rings quality. If that kind of has any weight to it,
Okay.
right.
I mean, we had 3 incredible movies that we won't get something like that again.
Right.
I don't think that's something that will get made again.
Yeah, I feel like that shouldn't be the expectation either. That it's
Right,
the movies.
and hopefully not for this game. I don't think it's. I have nothing based on this, but I don't think will be a retelling of the movies or the books. I think it's kind of like the Amazon thing where they're creating an open world game, and maybe more like a Skyrim. Like you create your own character and you're going to go to all these places from the books and the movies, and that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I would be fine either way because I think there's a lot of Japanese games that kind of retell like very long standing series like One Piece, which is way too long. And I think it's good to sum it up in the game sometimes. I think the movies are pretty long for some people, and if we could get people to watch the movies, with the same story, sure.
Right. I think there's a Japanese anime Lord of the Rings coming out, I think next year, called War of the Roar. How do you say that word? Roarhim? Warhim? But there's some noteworthy Japanese directors that are attached to it, which I think some like Lord of the Rings fans are like, we're gonna pin our hope on this project, but
we'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
Oh yeah, here it is. War of the Rohirrim, I believe.
Yeah.
Rohirrim, I believe. I don't know.
Is there a trailer for it?
It's set to release in 2024 with Brian Cox and Miranda Otto in the lead cast. So I'm in. That sounds great. I mean, just coming off Vox Machina. I would love that.
Yeah, I don't think there's a trailer yet, Thick, but hopefully this year they release a trailer.
Okay.
Yeah,
I see.
Very nice, Scott. You did excellent on your news portion.
Yeah, it's good to bring a little good news, maybe. So
right. Yeah.
Speaking of good news.
Yeah, Thick, are you beginning your news right now?
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to help you segue into it.
Yeah, good segue.
I knew that.
So the PSVR2 has not released yet. Just releasing in a few days, right? But the reviews have been released to the media.
Yeah.
So we only have media coverage right now, but it's been pretty good overall. I would say. Let me see. Let me look at my notes real quick. General consensus: awesome hardware. comfortable to wear. They say that the Horizon game that released, kind of pretty much like their flagship title, right?
Yeah.
Looks great. It's a spectacular looking game. Whatever it doesn't really reinvent the wheel. Like, we've seen this in many games
Probably a
before.
good thing.
Yeah. But it does it very polished. It brings VR up to standards to pretty much like what you get in PC VR, which is, for $500 instead of like, $1,000 standalone headset, I think that's pretty good. So,
Thick. So when are you buying yours? Did you have your pre-order in?
Yeah, I was debating just buying it, but I feel like, I bet by holiday season we'll get a bundle, and it will probably include GT7. I would love that, actually. GT7 and probably Call of the Mountain. That's what I'm expecting.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, good. That's a good guess. Yeah.
And I know they have a couple. So one of the big like cons right now. Well, actually, let me list some of the cons people have listed so far. It's still cabled, which is kind of expected. But with cable, you're kind of limited in your movement unless you have this weird rig where you hold the cable up.
Yeah. You put the game PS5 on your back. Yeah.
yeah, you could do that too. Uncertain game lineup, like beyond the launch window, right? Right now, I think they've announced around 40 games for launch, or the launch window, which I guess is 3 months. And a lot of the titles are basically Oculus or PS1 HD ports, essentially, right? Like they're not really like brand new experiences, so it's kind of limited in that scope. Some people say the price is a con. I personally do not think it is when you look at the bigger picture. If you were to compare it to a PC VR, because you're getting it at the kind of same fidelity with the console, and basically like a PC VR is like 1,000, like for equivalent with eye tracking and everything. Yeah. And then this combined with the PS5 is just like around 1,000, so it's like decent price.
Well, and I know the PSVR came out, 6 years ago, but I think if you were to have the the camera and the controllers plus the headset, I think it comes out to more expensive than the
it came out it came out to like, actually no, I think it came out to like $520. Okay. But the original PSVR was kind of like jerry-rigged together, right? Like the Move controllers are a PS3 artifact, basically, right?
Yeah, they are. And that wasn't it didn't ship with a complete package either, right? Is that what you're saying? It's like you had to buy the accessories.
Yeah, it was separate. Yeah. I think people had trouble getting the Moves controllers for a while.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah, all the positives for it is mostly related to the hardware, but the software is kind of like the big question. We don't know what's coming in the long term, so we're kind of hoping for more announcements in the future.
Does anybody know when the last PSVR title was released?
That's a good question.
Because this is the concern that I have with it, and just historically with Sony, they create this device that could potentially be amazing, like the Vita, and then just
don't support it.
Just go, and we're not doing anything with that anymore. That's
the concern.
Pretty much everything they've made other than the PlayStation. Anything
remember
that goes
the
with
TV?
It.
Was it the 3D TV? I mean, that one kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it was and I actually beta tested that. The PlayStation TV. Yeah. It worked good. It wasn't the best, but it did work good. But yeah, I mean, it seemed like soon as it launched and got out there, they just dropped it. Yeah. That's what concerns me with this, especially with the price tag. It's $550, right?
Yeah.
But it's coupled with a $500 console. So, relatively $1,100. Not a bad price to get into VR, but not the best price if you get into VR that's not going to be supported, a year and a half down the road.
That's definitely the concern, right? It's $1,000 investment for a questionable. Yeah.
Right. If you were to go buy a Valve Hive or whatever
one of them.
You have a vast Steam library of VR games to choose from.
Yeah.
It does feel like PSVR2, it could use a killer app, right?
It definitely could. I think Call of the Mountain seems good for what it's trying to do, just be like a tech demo for the PSVR2.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely nothing's really like pushing the boundaries in the game aspect right now.
Right.
And from what I understand, the PlayStation developers, some of them are working on VR titles, but nothing has really, come to fruition yet.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard to sell, VR titles. I mean, you've got, you still God of War, and you can sell 10 million copies.
Yeah.
But you make something for VR, and you're not going to sell. You're only going to sell as many VRs as you got out there, if that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be easier to find one of these in stores than the PS5 was, right?
Yeah,
definitely. I am looking forward to a bundle though, like for the holidays, and that's when I might buy it.
Okay, all right.
So you don't have a PS5 right now?
I do. I had the digital one, so
okay.
So the price of entry is a little bit lower for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
One thing that people really love is the eye tracking, because like there's some games that use it to kind of. You could use your eyes to aim. I think in Res Infinite, the way they have an option for you to just use your eyes to aim. But you have to. It doesn't work with one eye, so you can't like close one eye. Some people have tested that, but as long as you can see out both eyes, it works pretty well. Same with like choosing things in inventory. You look at the item you want, and like you
That's
just
cool.
pick it. Yeah. So I think what's good because PlayStation is one consistent platform, consistent hardware. They could just have a lot of developers just kind of push all those features as one. Compared to like PC VR where everything's kind of fragmented.
Yeah.
The hardware, like some has eye tracking, some has more capable controllers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
What year did Astrobot come out? The first Astrobot, 2018?
The rescue mission one,
I
forget. I know people are clamoring for that one to be ported over.
Oh, that's right. They don't even get that on the PSVR2 right now.
No, it's not backwards compatible.
Right.
And that's another thing that's why not? I mean, what is keeping them from having those titles on the PS4?
I would say because of the way it's tracked, right? Because now it's inside out tracking instead of the camera pointing at you for outside in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So okay, well that would definitely make sense. I mean,
and then also the controllers. The Move controllers are so limiting compared to what they have now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see how this one does. I think I'm on record saying this is not going to be as successful as the first.
You're not going to buy one. You guys are not buy one, right?
Here, the math I'm doing in my head is I'm waiting for that one title that's going to give me potentially 200 hours worth of fun.
Fortnite.
Yes.
Also, if they were to release this for PC, I would definitely be interested in it.
I agree. I'd buy it instantly, but I think it would be $550. I feel like they'd increase the price.
Why?
Because I think they subsidize it because it's PS5 only. Because like all the eye tracking, all the haptics and everything. Like if we were to get equivalent on PC, I think it'd be more expensive. Like
potentially.
Potentially,
like $1,100.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe not that extent.
Nah, they wouldn't do that. That would be a mistake. But just to say that if they did put it on PC, I would be very interested because I wouldn't have to buy into that ecosystem, right? I wouldn't have to get a PlayStation 5 just to play VR titles. It would be half the price for me, and there's going to be probably more titles ported to it on PC than there are on console. I agree. That would be my guess.
Maybe so there's an interesting statistic about the Quest 2. I was looking on the Oculus forum. Like if you look at the Steam charts, the Quest 2 is the top VR headset used on Steam because it has
I'm not
linking.
Surprised.
Yeah, you can link your Quest 2 to it. So maybe Sony might do that, if they open their own store on PC.
Yeah.
And then they could have their VR titles. Yeah. Hopefully.
That was my
prediction.
Prediction, yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they're waiting to just see what the time frame is on that, what the sales are going to be like. Because they've already got their pre-sale numbers.
Yeah.
They know how many they've got out of the gate, but then after that, I don't know. We'll see what the prices are. Right. I mean, see what the sales are after after the pre-orders and after the launch,
Yeah,
and then maybe they'll gauge that.
You know, I
on
bet
those
someone
numbers.
will hack the.
Oh,
set,
absolutely.
You know, like
Yeah.
sometimes first 1 or 2 months probably. So
Yeah.
I thought I read a headline a couple days ago saying that you can hook it up to your PC right now and the display is 1080p, which is lower resolution than it.
Oh, I don't think so, right?
Who knows?
I'd have
Who
to
knows?
peruse the forums,
Yeah.
find non-fake news.
Right.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Well, if you don't have any news, the best news to do is fake news, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Should I jump into a little my segment here?
Yeah, head
Yeah,
first.
please do.
All right. So you two, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I gave you guys explicit instructions on my first news story. I want to tell you the news story. And I want to see if you carry out my request. We'll see if you do that. Okay. So the first one is Octopath Traveler 2 just came out. It has an 85 on OpenCritic based on 32 reviews.
Mm-hmm.
I click on these videos. I listen to the soundtrack. The soundtrack for these games is amazing. I dare you guys to go on YouTube and look at Octopath Traveler 2 OST. They're amazing.
Yeah, they are good.
It sounds like there's one positive and one negative that everyone keeps bringing up in the reviews. It's very familiar to the first game, which I think to a lot of people wanted to take kind of a big step, to become maybe a classic JRPG. But they do. But on the plus side, it does sound like there's minimal improvements in almost every single area. So it sounds like it's a slow but steady improvement. Maybe by Octopath Traveler 7, we'll have a JRPG classic on our hands. Right. And I guess what I was saying is I was a little interested in this. I was like,
did you play the first one? Or
well, that's my thing. I probably played 5 hours for the first one on the Xbox, and it just didn't. At hour 5, it just wasn't pulling me in like. I remember Chrono Trigger. I think might have been the last JRPG I really played, and that one seemed to pull me in a little bit more. But again, it's these JRPGs that for some reason they entice me thick, and it seems like whenever I jump into them, I shouldn't be enticed anymore, right?
So what are you enticed about them though? So
I feel like when I look at this game, I'm like, this game is like a mashed potatoes game. It's like so easy to like just get in and start playing it, right? So it's like the opposite of Divinity Original Sin, where they just throw all these crazy, mechanics at you and you have to kind of like slowly figure them out. This is just like enjoy the adventure, right? And then I feel like, if the gameplay is going to be real simple, which I feel like a lot of JRPGs have relatively simple gameplay, that the story needs to be like a 10 out of 10, right?
Yeah.
And that's hard to do, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So so I played I'm on 40 hours of the first one.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm just kind of like going through the motions because like the story isn't that great, right? It's 8 different stories because that's why it's called Octopath.
Right.
Yeah.
But none of them, are strong stories in the first one, from what I could tell. Honestly, I want to just skip some of those scenes because it gets a little repetitive.
Oh, okay. So it sounds like there's 8 potential characters you can put in your party.
Yeah.
And I think your party is maybe a party of 4 or 5.
Yeah, typically.
Yeah, and each one of them has that first whatever character that you play, there's a different opening and a different introduction to that character that's hours.
Right. Yeah, I know when I play, I'm remembering it now. It felt like, in one of the reviews I said they say, oh, it gives a lot of player choice, and I'm like, that's the thing I didn't like about the first one. It felt like I was playing the game exactly how everyone else was playing it. Like, I know you're picking your characters, there's a little player choice there, but once you're in the groove with the character, it felt like you're doing what they want you to do.
That's exactly why I quit playing it. There was didn't seem to be any variation, or it was just kind of like, go here, talk to this guy, go here, fight this, go here, and then it didn't leave anything really open.
Yeah.
Is that what they're complaining about the second one?
I just know one.
So what were the minor improvements? Do you know? Was it story or was it?
That was the big thing I was kind of keying up on. I wanted the reviews to say like the story is a noticeable improvement. No one was saying that. I think they were just saying like there's a lot of quality of life improvements. I think that maybe some of the characters are a little bit more interesting, but there was nothing that was like, okay, I was lukewarm on this one, I want to be hot on the next one. There was nothing that was like telling me this is the next big jump. But it does sound like people. I mean, there's a crowd out there that's a JRPG crowd. Thick is somewhat one of them, right?
Yeah,
And,
I think if you probably enjoyed the first one a lot,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it enough, but I probably
Okay.
wouldn't play the second one for a while.
Okay, maybe let your palate be cleansed by some other titles. In
Yeah, I
between.
probably like fit in like an action-based one just to clean the turn-based out of my mouth a little bit.
Yeah. That game did look cool. I remember that. It had that cool art style.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 3D side scroller. It's a
3D pixel art.
Pixelated. Yeah, it's kind of hard to describe. You just kind of have to play it.
Yeah, it's like an SNES title in your dreams.
Yeah, it's what it's. Yeah, it's like we were talking about earlier. It's like that's how you remember them looking, and then they don't.
Yeah.
Well, the next game that came out this week was a Monster Hunter clone called Wild Hearts, which has an 80 on OpenCritic based on 65 reviews. According to Paste Magazine, it's quote Monster Hunter meets Fortnite. All right, so that piqued my interest.
That piqued your interest? Okay.
That did, but then as I kind of dove into the reviews, this is kind of my takeaway. It sounds like it's a competent Monster Hunter clone with slightly faster combat, streamlined, beginner-friendly design, and a somewhat unique building. They call it Karakuri combat mechanic.
Yeah, I remember that.
You seem to do like little combos, and then like a structure pops up in front of you.
You build the structure. It's part of how you engage combat. Yeah.
Yeah. And it does sound like one of the a lot of people are complaining about the PC version of the game.
Is it the performance?
Yes, I am too.
Yeah. Oh, we can hear what you think.
Yeah, I didn't play a lot of it, but yeah, it's if you see it on console and you see it on PC, it's kind of like why
really?
This doesn't. Yeah, it looks like a game that may have come out maybe 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And the performance on it is very lackluster.
Okay.
On my PC, I can play most new titles at high, maybe some of them at ultra settings. This I had to hit all medium just to get a decent frame rate. And then by turning that stuff down, you lose a lot of what is in modern video games. Is what you're used to seeing, and it kind of ends up looking like a PlayStation 3 title. So that was not impressive at all.
I would say maybe the console editions, in terms of visual perspective, it feels like it's right there toe to toe with the AAA Monster Hunter games, right?
Yeah, it does look. It looks better. Yeah.
Right.
That's not the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be.
Right, I know.
If you've got the hardware, it should be better. But yeah, the PC port is terrible. I watched a couple of videos to make sure I just wasn't. It's like maybe there's something I'm doing wrong.
Yeah.
And no, it's noticeably bad.
I think they did say that they're planning on fixing it relatively soon, right?
Oh yeah, I'm sure it'll get fixed in the months to come. There'll be patches and patches But as far
do we know
as that
what
first
engine it's on? Does anyone know?
I'm not sure.
So I know Megaforce makes this game. I see that they've released other titles, but I guess this is probably a little bit different from their other titles because they do a lot of Muso games, right?
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't think they would use the same engine, would they?
Probably not.
Yeah.
They might. You don't know. They might.
Yeah. Regardless, I'm not the biggest Monster Hunter fan, but I did try it out and it was okay.
Do you feel like you got through the kind of the the tutorial like the onboarding section? You feel like you got past that and you're like, I'm legit playing the game? Yeah,
I think I got to that point, and then that's when when the stuttering starts to mess up your pacing and your timing on your attacks.
Okay.
Then I just quit.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was a red flag. They said that I think they were trying to tout this as a pro, but I tout it as a con, which is there's no microtransactions according to the developer. But it will be receiving post-launch support. I feel like if you're confident in your product, you want to sell, your rabid fan base some skins, right?
No, maybe. I feel like in this sort of game, Monster Hunter games, you kind of earn your skin, right? You're killing the monsters and you're taking their skin essentially.
But certainly, Monster Hunter has some kind of a shop, right, that you can spend real money in.
I forget. Maybe Monster Hunter Worlds.
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember them having a. I mean, there's a store, but I don't remember it being an actual microtransaction store.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm sure there's a way to do it, to monetize something like that, but
yeah,
it's I don't know. I'm thinking now in 2023 it may be a better option not to have one and just have maybe content that you can buy later on, because as we're seeing these games of service platform kind of start to fail a little bit. You know, once you start putting those microtransactions and start putting those challenges and those weekly things, well, then you've essentially created a game service, and you know, maybe they're scared of dropping players with that platform. I don't know.
I think if they want to be comparable with Monster Hunter, who does like expansions, they should just go that route.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. And I did have a question written down for. Let's start with Fick on this one. You know, we kind of talk about like, a game. We got to pick a game that all three of us are going to play. I know Fick's been avoiding us on DMZ for quite some time, but we won't.
You guys have Mass. You guys have Mass to play.
But let me ask you, Fick, why aren't we picking like a Monster Hunter game? Why don't we? You know, this is a co-op game, highly regarded co-op genre.
Yeah, it's actually, from what I understand, a lot easier to get into a co-op game than it is on Monster Hunter.
Oh, in this one.
You just basically go, hey, just send an invite and your friend joins you.
Right.
Monster Hunter, it's like, you know,
you have to be in the overworld, and like it's a bunch of
it's very complicated and doesn't have to be.
But my question is, how come all three of us kind of veer away from this genre?
I feel like this genre requires like a time sink, and I don't think we are interested in like having a time sink sort of game. Because I think DMZ you could just hop in and play around.
Yeah, you can play some matches and then
shoot
get off.
Yeah.
It's the reason why I don't play Monster Hunter that much. It's because like it is a time sink. I like the games, but they take.
Yeah, I mean, once you start something, you got to finish it, and it may be 20 minutes and maybe 2 hours, but you got to dedicate that time to it. That's not something that I can do all the time.
Okay. All right. Well, let's finish the news on a high note. Okay. I don't know if you guys ever listen to a podcast called the Bitcast. Do you?
Mm-hmm.
It's hosted by Richard. I think it's Richard Hogue. He's one of the co-hosts.
Yep.
He rose to prominence in games media because he seemingly was the only one who could speak with authority on the Microsoft Activision Blizzard. Apparently,
right? Because he's a lawyer. Yeah.
He's a lawyer, but he's a lawyer within that field, mergers and acquisitions, right?
Right.
A few months back, apparently he suffered from a stroke, so he's been MIA. His wife has been tweeting out certain health updates throughout the the process of getting back on his feet. But today he came back on the Bitcast.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did. So it was fun seeing him back.
Nice.
Yeah. He's not 100% yet, but it was good to see, like, okay, he's looking pretty good. He's looking solid.
Yeah. Oh, that is good news.
Yeah. So I recommend anyone, if you're listening to this, definitely go check out the Bitcast. They do a solid bang up job over there.
I'm sure they're talking about the latest acquisition carnival that's going on right now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I have to check it out.
Wait, do we want to talk about that one news this week? Well, it's mostly like a headline regarding Game Pass reducing sales.
Well, I do have that on my big talk. I was going to kind of talk about that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
And I have to admit that I posted a story earlier about Redfall not coming with a physical copy. That turned out to be completely false.
I saw that.
So if that's what if you're fuming about it, just know that it's some YouTuber, I don't know, got an idea that would be a fun thing to post, and a games media website took it and ran with it without substantiating it. And okay, so anyway, so that's a non-issue.
Scott, you stepped out of your lane here. There's one rumor expert on the podcast. So that's obviously me, right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
but with that being said, I think we should go on to the rumor mill and blaze through 6 pretty interesting rumors. Are you ready?
Yes, let's do it. Sure. 6.
Number one, Metro Exodus 2 is fully playable, according to Insider Gaming. What the heck is Metro Exodus? It's like a Russian open world shooter. Is that what I'm thinking?
Exodus that's their last game. Exodus 2, or I don't know if
there's a 2.
I don't know. Have they
I think
released a name for it?
This upcoming one is called Metro Exodus.
The next Metro game, is fully playable, and anybody that's played Metro Exodus, especially when it came out, this was like a benchmark for graphics. This game looked absolutely amazing. It looked very good on the Xbox, the PlayStation, and it is a really good game as well. If you don't mind a lot of dialogue with Russian accents.
Right.
Yeah, which is not favorable right now, but
right.
You know, this is
remember the original one? Was it the 2030?
2033.
Turn
Right?
2033.
Right.
Something like
the
that.
original one, not the remade one. Like it broke PCs back in the day, right?
It did. Yeah. It was graphically. It was. They know how to make some beautiful games.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Exodus was a semi-open world.
Mm-hmm.
You went to like a hub worlds as you traveled on a train, and I think this one is supposed to be completely open world, if I'm not mistaken.
I think
progression.
Right,
yeah.
Progression.
Yeah.
Was the first game? Was the first game the game where you trade your bullets were also a currency?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
that's kind of interesting.
Did they change that in the later games? I never got past the first game. I really want to beat the first game before I move on.
The second game I felt was better.
Yeah.
But
I still want to beat the first one before I get there.
Yeah, it was better. And then Exodus was better than both of them. I thought I really liked that game.
How much game time did it take?
To complete the campaign, it was about, I want to say it's a little over 20.
Okay.
Yeah. And with exploring, there's a lot of exploring and side missions and stuff like that. But the graphics are amazing. The characters are fantastic. It's just a really good game. I know people are like, I don't want to give my money to Russian people, but I'm pretty sure these people are in Prague.
Prague's great.
Good
people in
games.
Prague.
Yeah. But
yeah,
and they're the ones that's I think they coined the phrase first, the 4, or not AAA but 4A. So that's their name, 4A.
Oh, really? Is it?
Right. Yeah.
I thought that was the Callisto Protocol dev, but it was prior dev.
They stole it.
Yeah. All right. Rumor number 2. PlayStation Plus Extra is reportedly getting Forbidden West, Scarlet Nexus, Resident Evil 7, and Borderlands 3. The internet seems to believe this particular leaker. Here's how bad I am, though. Thick, what the heck is PlayStation Plus Extra? That's the tier, right? That's the third.
That's the mid tier.
That's the mid tier. Okay.
Not the premium is the top tier.
Okay.
Extra is the middle tier, which is the best value out of that.
Now, so Thick, do I have the bare minimum tier, which I get my 2 free games a month?
Yeah, you have the bare minimum, and
Okay.
you get what's the PS collection, which they're getting rid of by May. You know that one where you get like 20 games when you first get a PS5. They're mostly PS4 games.
Who gets these games?
You do. You get.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
You should check, because you can still claim them, but once May comes around, you're not going to be able to claim them. It's like Fallout 4, Final Fantasy 15, like a couple of them. Pretty decent lineup, to be honest.
All right, I spend most of my time in the Fortnite shop, so
okay.
Maybe if I get out of that Fortnite shop, I can check those games out. All right.
Yeah.
All right, rumor number 3. Tom Henderson details Ubisoft's E3. Are you guys paying attention?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, it's this: Just Dance 2024, 2 Assassin's Creed games. One is Mirage, one is Nexus. The Division Heartland, X Defiant, Avatars from Frontiers of Pandora, Skull and Bones, The Crew Motorfest, and Mario Rabbids 2 DLC. Guys, that's a great E3. Let's grade their E3. Scott, how'd they do on E3 this year?
B-. Yep.
Okay, and you thought maybe the game of the show was their Avatar game, right?
Yes.
Hopefully, right?
Yeah, we
I really want to
see it. Yeah, I want to see what it looks like. Okay. And I also want to see Division Heartland as well, because last time, I don't know if have we ever seen it? What I saw was leaked footage.
I think we saw some.
They've had like a gameplay trailer in the past couple of months.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I have to go back and look at it, but
it hasn't. I don't know. It doesn't exactly jump off out of the screen in like.
No, it's Division. That's pretty much what it is.
It
looked kind of like a phone game, but
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
They do have the phone game, right?
Yeah. And Tom Henderson does say he doesn't think that the mobile initiatives will be at E3.
Okay.
So
That's
that's
probably for the
probably-
best.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they should have their own convention anyway.
Yeah. Do you
For
not have
mo-
any
for-
phones?
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. All right, moving on to rumor number 4.
Oh wait, hold on, one thing.
Oh, go ahead.
X-Defiant had, what is it? Their I think a closed testing this week, and
That's right.
I think
Yeah,
there was a
I didn't get
rumor.
into
What's it?
it.
I think Tom Henderson said X-Defiant is looking good or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Somebody said that.
Yeah.
After that, yeah. So that's
Promising.
new
wanna get my hands
Call of
on it.
Duty type shooter. I'm game.
I will say this though, whenever I see multiplayer impressions, I feel like I can't take them. Like talk to me once you're at hour 50. But when you're at hour 2, you're not going to tell me anything about a multiplayer game, right?
Yeah.
Right. Because we all know Halo Infinite had great glowing reviews when that first came out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So all right. Rumor number 4. The first official image of Halo Infinite's Falcon leaked. Did you guys take a look at this?
Falcon.
Mm-mm.
It's a twin prop helicopter that may hold 3 to 4 players.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This doesn't interest me at all unless it's more attached to that new Project Tanaka or whatever, right?
I think it'll be partly part of their Forge, if anything.
Oh, Forge. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is a lot of fun. I have to say.
Is it?
Some of the maps that are coming out of there. There's one that's it's a Whataburger. It's
It's
everything.
a
The
Whataburger?
kitchen,
Okay.
the parking lot, the old ones with the
Is
drive-
it as
drive
bright?
up. What's that?
Is that as bright as a Whataburger? Like the
Oh, yeah.
orange? Okay.
Oh man, yeah. Like if you were to like drive off away from it, you'd be like, oh my God, there's a Whataburger over there. There's a Waffle House one. I mean, those are just really fun to fight in.
So
But-
you can kind of craft objects that are that kind of specific. Like you can get
Apparently, yeah. There's a
Yeah.
lot of them that are. I can't recall seeing those in the game.
No, right.
Right, like textures and even vehicles and stuff.
Right.
I don't know if they're creating the textures or creating. I don't know. I mean, I don't do the Forge.
It's
So
wizardry.
It is sorcery. So
Sorcery.
I just enjoy the maps. Right.
Yeah, they're gonna introduce, was it a community playlist map?
Mm-hmm. They have.
They have already.
Yep. Oh yeah. There's a couple in the rotation. So
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to take a look then.
yeah. Xbox is, I mean, Halo's still fun. It's just
don't listen to Scott. It's not fun.
fractured. It's
Yeah.
fun.
I will say one thing about that multiplayer. I think getting into the Wasp was it.
Mm-hmm.
The Wasp was amazing. I could get a lot of kills in that thing. That thing was so ridiculously overpowered.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that is like you had to like wait in a line, right? Because it would spawn every like 9
You'd have
minutes.
Right. Everybody
Yeah.
would jump for it.
Yeah, you'd be like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" Oh, just killing time, waiting for the Wasp to show up. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the way the Falcon was in Reach. You could get across the map really quick
Oh, really?
with one of those if you weren't shot down. Yeah.
All right. Rumor number 5. According to PitchBook.com, Sony may have acquired 47-person studio called Ballistic Moon.
I heard about
Apparently.
that.
Yeah, apparently
Kiki-
earlier in the week there was like I think it was a PlayStation hiring section of a website that leaked out. They listed a bunch of first-party studios, and right in the middle, for some reason, they listed Ballistic Moon too. Right.
Mhm.
I don't know if we can say too much about that. I have no idea what they made in the past.
I feel like I heard something about it this week, but I forget what they were maybe working on.
Yeah. I looked at their website. It doesn't look like they've made anything yet.
Okay.
It's a new studio. But it's possible. I mean, if Sony saw what they were working on and wanted it,
Right.
and it being a new studio, you got to need, money makes the games come out. So,
Right.
Yep.
yeah, that would probably be a smart pickup for Sony.
Take that, Activision Blizzard.
Right. Right.
All right, rumor number 6. This was kind of a funny rumor. Tom Warren suggests that Sony executives met with Microsoft to discuss Call of Duty based on corporate jet data that Sony flew to Seattle, Washington, because apparently Microsoft is based there.
Yeah.
I don't know if Microsoft is based there.
Microsoft's
They're
based
in Redmond, Washington. Yeah.
Okay. That being said, apparently Bungie is also based there too. So people are like,
Right.
yeah, maybe they're just going to say hi to the Bungie folk, right?
Yeah, sure.
But
Right.
interesting that people are tracking corporate jets and we're getting our video game rumors based on, some high tech.
I think that's the thing since the Elon jet went viral.
Yeah.
You guys heard about that, right?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I think he was like fighting with the kid too, right? He was
I
like,
think he
"Please
offered
stop."
something, and then the
Yeah.
kid wanted more money, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, blocked."
Yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that does it for the rumors. I feel like the rumors were solid this week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Pretty solid
Yeah.
set.
Nothing too crazy.
Yeah. But now it's the time for the big brains to do the big talk with the big
Yep. The
vocabulary.
biggest.
Right.
The biggest of all time.
So potentially our biggest brain. Let's start with Scott.
Oh,
Scott,
God.
you have the big brain.
Oh, Emma,
Yeah.
the one that just lost his website that had all the information on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it right here. Yeah, I just wanted to, with this acquisition of Embracer, or Lord of the Rings from Embracer,
Mhm.
you may not realize how many Lord of the Rings games that there have been since the beginning of time. There's
I have a
quite a
feeling
few.
a list is in our future.
There is a list. I don't know if
Okay.
I can even go over this list, but the very first one was The Hobbit in 1982. It was
We all
on the
remember
Commodore
that.
64 and the Apple II. And then I can give you the rundown of this. And some of these will sound familiar because they're apparently kind of remakes. But we've got The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings Game 1, which was also on Commodore, The Shadows of Mordor, War in Middle-earth, The Crack of Doom, which I'm not positive that's a Lord of the... Anyway.
Sounds like a South Park title.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings Volume 1. I guess they never made it. Yeah, they did make a Volume 2. Okay. Riders of Rohan. And the cover art for these are really cool. You should go to Wikipedia and look at these. Lord of the Rings Volume 2, The Two Towers, Fellowship of the Ring.
Are we...
Now,
what consoles are these now?
Okay, so these are all like IBM, Commodore.
We're still in
actually,
that period. Okay.
Amiga. Lord of the Rings
Amiga.
Volume 1 actually came out on the Super NES. I did not know that. I'm going to have to look that up. So that was in the last one was Volume 2, The Two Towers. What about a cliffhanger? 1992. Okay, so we didn't have another Lord of the Ring games until 2002, which the
By
Fellowship
EA?
of the Ring. Yeah, the movie came out in 2001. So it was Lord of the Ring, The Fellowship of the Ring. And I remember playing this. This was not based on the movie. This was a studio that based it on the books. And at the time, there was, I believe, one of the companies had the book franchise, and Warner Brothers had the movie franchise. So you got book games and you got movie games.
Right.
So this was a book game. And then you had Lord of the Rings, War of the Ring, which was a book game in 2003. The Hobbit in 2003 was also a book game. And then we got Lord of the Rings Online, which is still played today. That was in 2007.
Oh.
Right.
So
is that the most successful Lord of the Rings game?
Money-wise, probably.
Likely, yeah.
Well, where can I play it? Just like on Steam, or?
I believe it is on Steam. I think it's in my Steam library. It's free to play now.
Oh.
It doesn't look bad. It's dated, but it's still good. It's kind of like Elder Scrolls Online, where it starts you off in this big story with Aragorn and all that kind of stuff. But let's jump ahead to 2002 again. Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers by EA, made by Stormfront Studios. Did you guys play this? This was like that beat 'em up that was used the movie characters' voices, the voice actors, and you played through several parts of the movie. This game was amazing. I mean, this is still some people's favorite game. You guys?
I had a friend in high school who loved this game.
Yeah,
this game, he was playing it nonstop. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought it. still makes me mad to this day. But I bought a PS2 just to play this game.
Mm-hmm.
And not 4 months after they announced it for the Xbox.
Probably a slightly better version. Yeah.
Yeah, it did look better. But then in 2003 we had the Return of the King, which was the follow-up of that. But it wasn't made by Stormfront Studios. It was made by EA Redwood Shores. But it used the same engine and it used the same, basically everything. And it's arguably a better game, a little bit deeper, a little bit more RPG action in there. Lord of the Rings: The Third Age was also Electronic Arts by EA Redwood, and this was almost like a Final Fantasy game. It was it was 3D obviously, but it was turn-based, so the action was all turn-based. It didn't sell as well, but it was actually a really good game. So we got games from what's that?
I have a question. How come it seems like Star Wars fits video games better than Lord of the Rings fits video games?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, there's probably I'm sure there's more Star Wars games than Lord of the Ring games, but yeah, I don't know.
I know for me personally, I feel like when I think of Star Wars, I think like, oh, interesting universe.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't necessarily think Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader. I know they're big characters in that.
Right.
But when I think of Lord of the Rings, I'm like, no, it's Frodo, it's Gandalf, it's Legolas. Like I'm not as interested in the world of Lord of the Rings as I am the characters in it.
I think that's probably because what we know as fantasy fiction, Dungeons and Dragons, is based on Middle Earth. So most fantasy things that we know of swords and magic bows and dragons and all that is spawned from Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
So Star Wars
has a generic feel then. It has a generic feel.
Yeah. I mean, it's there's so much of it. There's so many games that are based on that, but not actually Lord of the Rings. Star Wars is a little bit different, where you can go, hey, I'm going to make up this one character, and they're going to go to this new planet. We're going to call it this, and it's going to do, So you can kind of add on to that. With Lord of the Rings, you, I guess, in a way, have to stick with that criteria of
fantasy,
lore
right?
and fiction,
Yeah.
right, to kind of stay into that.
Well,
But
that's why I asked Thick before. I'm like, would you rather have the retelling of Frodo's journey, or would you have it all new? And I'm in my head, I'm like, typically I want a developer to do what they want, but I'm like, if they just do an all new story, like that's like Dragon Age, right? That's just generic, like that thing. So that's why I was like, I'd rather see maybe a retelling of the Frodo.
Well, I guess it's not just Frodo's story, right? There's a lot of like side characters they introduce in the movie.
Yeah, that was the whole point, right? Of having all these people, the party, the Fellowship of the Ring, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think they kind of tried to do that again with a game that actually I thought was pretty good. It was by Snowblind Studios, called War in the North, and you played one of three characters, and it was just kind of a derivative of Aragorn or Legolas or Gimli, but you could play co-op and play through this whole campaign, third person action. It was great. But you've got more games. There's Lego games. There's up to 2017. The last one was Middle Earth: Shadow of War. Shadow of Mordor was critically acclaimed. They got a lot of awards, a couple of Game of the Year awards, I believe.
Yeah.
Didn't sell though that great, right?
It sold okay. It did fine. I think the second one actually sold better, but it wasn't as critically acclaimed.
Yeah, it was kind of marred by issues, right?
Yeah,
initially?
it was. There was one at launch. It had some kind of microtransaction.
It kind of gate kept the XP, I think, in the end.
Yeah, it was like it got to where it pushed you into the store more than any other game has. It's like,
but they
why
fixed
do this
it.
when
They
you can
patched
buy
it,
this?
right? Yeah.
They did. They fixed it, but it was a little too late.
Yeah, I agree.
It just, when you have a game like that, it's hard to kind of come back from that. But there has been a lot of Lord of the Rings games from the beginning of computers. So it's exciting to see more of these. Last one we got, like I said, is 2017. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
bring it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward more to the future ones. I guess because I didn't really play anything beyond Shadow of Mordor. Like Shadow of Mordor, once I picked it up, I couldn't stop for a while. It was pretty good to me.
Yeah, it really was. It was surprisingly good.
Yeah.
How many links would they have to the book or the movie? Like, are you running into famous characters? You know?
It depends on the game. In Shadow of Mordor, you are running into characters from the books, I believe, and then there's some characters that were mentioned in the movies
that you're
running into, because it's kind of a prequel. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I remember what the time frame is, but you're playing a character that is pretty much Aragorn. There's not
right.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard. It's hard not to.
Yeah. Do either of you guys have a favorite line from Lord of the Rings? Because I do have one. I just watched The Two Towers yesterday, actually.
Oh, I rewatched all the movies, the extended version, just having it in the background playing.
Yeah.
Right now I can't remember anything specific. I know there's a lot of great lines in it.
Yeah.
I've got one.
My personal favorite, and then you go, Scott. Mine is never trust an elf. Gimli is like kind of a, he's got some demons, right? If he's saying things like that, right?
I like Gimli. I think he's my favorite character.
Yeah.
Gimli is, yeah.
He counts his kills, just like everybody else.
Scott, what's your line?
Oh, I think my favorite line out of that whole movie is, "Oh no, you don't bow to anyone." Probably not the exact words, but that line right there, man.
Yeah.
When he said that, there was not a dry eye in that theater.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. Huh. All right, very good, Scott. Thick, don't you think you did very good here?
Yeah, I can't top that. That's a good history lesson.
Well, you can't. Yeah, it's hard to top Lord of the Rings. That's not.
Yeah.
I can't take credit for that.
Right. Thick, what's your big brain? What did your big brain produce this week?
Well, I was just thinking about, like, how this week there was a lot of coverage about Metroid Prime. Like, I don't know about you guys, but it was kind of like nonstop praise for it, right?
I have a hot take on this one, but proceed.
Okay, yeah. I guess, like, people are giving it 10s because I think the original got 10s.
Yeah.
And I think it deserves it.
95 on Metacritic right now.
Yeah, it's like both games are on, like, the top right now, and, like, it's been the talk. I'm on the Metroid subreddit, so I see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's blown up. I feel like I kind of noticed this, but, like, like, games get hyped for maybe, like, about one or 2 weeks, and then, like, you just don't hear from it for a while, right?
Right.
Same with Hi-Fi Rush. Still trying to go through the game, but yeah, that I feel like these two games. I don't know if that would anyone consider remaster worth Game of the Year nominee. I don't feel so.
I think in a horrible year, maybe in a horrible year.
Maybe in a horrible year. This is a really good year, so
yeah.
I guess I would say that I do feel like it's a little bit overhyped, despite it being my favorite game. I think there's a lot of factors to it, and I guess I have my own hot take, right?
Okay.
Like, I think this is great for the Metroid franchise. It's like a great marketing push for it. Like, I think it'll be probably one of the best-selling Metroid games, and it will definitely set things up for Metroid Prime 4, which I feel like will be coming out hopefully this year.
No way. No, Thick, what's happening is Metroid Prime 2 is coming out in 9 months, and then Metroid Prime 3 is coming out 9 months after that.
That's actually a rumor, right? Like, it's just they're just going to release those kind of as not full remasters, probably just cleaned up with the new controls that they have in 2, the first one.
Yeah.
I think the fact that they call it a remaster and it feels like they've done a lot more, it's almost like they cleaned up everything.
Yeah.
I think because, people, I feel like when people look at remaster, I don't know. How do you guys define remaster? Like, when you hear that word?
I would say a remaster is using the original engine and either fixing or updating, things in it to make it look and play better.
Yeah.
A remake, would be that you've created this game from scratch, remaking
a new vision kind of thing.
Yeah, that original game. Like Dead Space would be a perfect example of that. They recreated that game with zero assets from the original. So it's a different engine, different everything. So not a remaster. Yeah.
So I guess you guys would compare this to maybe the Mass Effect 1.
Yeah.
remaster?
Yeah. That's
okay.
Which is a good remaster. That's a good example
Yeah.
of a remaster done well.
Yeah. I feel like the $40 price tag played a lot into its praise too, because like if this released at $60, because Nintendo has been known for releasing just like HD remasters, especially during like the Wii U for like $60. But
this was $40?
$40, yeah.
Wow, way to go, Nintendo.
Yeah, so I think that kind of contributed to the hype.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting glowing reviews. I'll play it, but I do feel it's a little bit overhyped right now. I think, Nate, you had a hot take on this one?
Yeah, I see it gets to 95 on Metacritic. I'm like, who are these people working for? That's what goes through my head. Because, my experience with Metroid Prime is like, back in the day, Halo was like the talk, is like everyone in your high school.
They were kind of pit head to head.
They were.
Like, yeah.
They were. And I remember being like, Halo made the rounds in high school.
Yeah.
Metroid Prime was like the Nintendo kids. We're like, no, seriously, Metroid Prime is better than Halo. But like, it was not going away.
It was not mass. Yeah.
No.
But I do like this resurgence, this kind of renaissance for the franchise. It really needs it. So
let me ask you a question. This is a question I like to ask myself a lot, almost as a thought exercise, right? So last time I asked myself, I'm like, what does Ubisoft need to do to get to Splinter Cell to sell 14 million copies? Because they typically sell, 4 to 5 million copies, right?
Remaster the first couple games.
No, well, I think you remaster them and you're still kind of limiting your ceiling, right?
Yeah.
So my thing is like, what do you think Metroid Prime needs to do to do that, Breath of the Wild moment?
You mean like for 4?
Yeah, for 4. And I hope it's not 4. I hope they don't call it 4. Are they going to call it 4?
I think it's called 4. Yeah.
Really?
I think that logo said Metroid Prime 4.
That's a mistake. Yeah.
Yeah. It should be like a reboot of the franchise.
Kind of like God of War.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I feel like what we're
Metroid
seeing.
Infinite.
Metroid. I feel like what we're seeing with remaster, I feel like part of that is they did it as an exercise to, rework the engine in some ways.
Right.
So I bet like what we're seeing in the remaster wouldn't look too different from 4. I feel like because we're kind of reaching the limit for the Switch's hardware, right? Because I think some people are saying this is the best looking Switch game. I'm not sure if I go that far. That's why I kind of consider it overhyped right now.
Yeah.
But I still haven't gotten my hand on it.
Okay. Here's my memory. So I was a Halo kid. I played a bunch of Halo. Like I love that game. And then I was big into video games, so I was like, I wonder what Metroid Prime is doing. I felt like I remember they did a lot of cool visual things in that game. Like that game, it just had a great presentation, right?
Yeah.
And then I remember like, okay, the music was real nice. Like the atmosphere was Atmosphere is like a 10
no dialogue.
Yeah,
I think they are the first game to have scanning, like that's sort of scanning.
Oh, right. I remember you'd scan a lot, and apparently there was a story in it, but you had to read it from artifacts.
And I did read everything. I like the game a lot. So
okay, I was a Halo kid. I was throwing grenades at people. I didn't have time to read the text in a Metroid Prime game, Metroid Prime game.
Of course.
But here's my thing. It's like if atmosphere is like your what you're bringing to the table and like visual, kind of like a nice visual presentation, I'm like, that's not enough for like that's not that impressive for a game.
Well, it's not that. I played both of these games when they came out. I didn't know why this was in the same category. I mean, Metroid Prime is a vastly different game than Halo.
Yeah.
It's just because
they were both first-person shooters.
Right. It was like
as kids,
Nintendo's Halo. Yeah. But in a sense, it really was Nintendo's Halo because it was a first-person shooter,
which they've never done.
They did which they'd never done. But it had all these cool problem solving and puzzle mechanics to it, and scanning, and it was just a little bit more video gamey, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I would say like a hot take is it was pretty much like Ocarina times combat, right? Because it's the lock on in first person. That's pretty much how I saw it.
And I felt like the puzzles were a little Zelda-y, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were, because you turn in the ball and go through the,
Right.
So I
So,
think as the whole package, they put it together pretty well, combining it with Metroid style like gameplay.
Right. But I guess so. So I asked, how can you take this franchise to a 15 million sales? Thick, you didn't really give me an answer.
I didn't. Open world? VR?
I do. VR would actually be cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like, what was the last single player sold over 10 million copies? Elden Ring, right?
God of War.
God of War and Elden Ring. Yeah, both of them sold over 10 million.
Sold 11 million. Yeah.
Oh, great. So it's just inject a bunch of story into Metroid Prime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just add a side character. Make the Metroid talk.
Make the Metroid talk.
Yeah.
Can I say another thing about Metroid? Ridley is the lamest villain. He's a giant pterodactyl.
I like her, but
no. That everything.
A space pterodactyl.
Yeah, space pterodactyl.
Yeah, but like when you see Samus's suit and like she's going through her like biomes, it's all kind of it's a little like Ridley. Is it like Ridley Scott? It's a little like
it is
serious.
based off Ridley Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you see a giant pterodactyl, which is like one of Barney's friends. Remember Barney? Hello, boys and girls.
Wait, do you think it visually kind of looks like Barney?
Well, I feel it looks like so out of place in that game when a giant pterodactyl.
Yeah, I see what you're. It's like all this sci-fi stuff, and then there's a dinosaur. Yeah,
right.
Because why not?
Right, and it does Ridley talk?
No,
I mean it doesn't talk.
It just has like the was it a shriek kind of?
So okay, Ridley doesn't have minions working for him. It's like not a social hierarchy there.
I think the pirates are like. She does command the pirates to an extent.
I don't like that. I don't
like that.
No.
You don't take orders from dinosaurs.
No, you need like a Dark Samus giving orders, like someone that looks kind of like Samus.
There is a Dark Samus still, right?
And in Metroid Prime 2, isn't there?
Of course there is. Yeah,
right. All right. Well, if Ridley doesn't show up there, maybe I'll be game. But I think Ridley shows up in a lot of them.
Yeah, Ridley is in most of them.
All right. Well, it'll be interesting to see how what Metroid Prime 4 does a little differently. Hopefully,
I'm curious how well it will sell, but I need to see it first, right?
Right.
Well, I got a quick question about this. If they remastered Metroid Prime and they're saying it's one of the best looking games on the Switch, what is 4 going to look like?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. I feel like it'll look very similar.
I mean, why not? What? They need new hardware. They need new hardware.
They do.
Don't you think Metroid Prime 4 could, or maybe is likely early Switch 2 game?
It could be.
That would be a great launch title, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I think it'd be a great one.
Right. I guess it could be like what the Zeldas would do with it's on
like
both.
Breath of the Wild, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. We will see. Let me jump into my little big brain topic. Are you guys ready? So my question for you guys, as I read this to you, I want you to be thinking about this. What is Game Pass going to look like in 5 years? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. So I'm going to read a little blurb here. Statements from Microsoft they made to the UK regulators in an attempt to save its proposed $68.7 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard contradict what the company has said for years about Game Pass, namely that a game's appearance on the subscription service does result in lower sales. The CMA said following in a recent report, quote, Microsoft also submitted that its internal analysis shows a percentage, this is redacted, they're not giving the percentage, decline in base game sales 12 months following their addition to on Game Pass. All right. So in 5 years, it's going to be 2028. We'll be the #1 podcast on all platforms by that time.
Right.
We'll be squabbling with each other as endorsement deals fly across our desks, right?
Yeah.
But if we ignore all of that, I think we talked about this like a week or two ago. What is Game Pass in 2028? Is it essentially what it is today, maybe slightly more costly?
I'm going to say that it's going to be more costly. It's going to have probably a richer library with games that you're only going to get on Game Pass.
Wait a second, Scott. You're telling me that they're going to say the only way you can play this game is if you subscribe to Game Pass. You can't buy it. You can't buy it outside of Game Pass.
Absolutely.
Scott,
that's
a hot take.
That is quite
That's
the
a hot
hot
take.
take. It's
Well, I mean, look at it. If you want to watch, you know, a show on Netflix, you got to have Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't go a period of time and then go to another streaming. It's they own it. Microsoft makes games, so
This is interesting.
that's at some point. And Phil Spencer has said that. He said there's a good chance that we'll have exclusive content on Game Pass. But to go back to that story a little bit for when they're if you read that story about games declining or possibly taking money away from a game being on Game Pass, that's after a 12-month period. So unless it's a live service game, what game doesn't start to decline in sales after 12 months?
Now, but let me throw this out at you. Like, clearly prior Halo games have sold phenomenally well, right? Do we really think Halo Infinite sold that well?
No, it did not.
No, right.
No.
And
I think we know that because Microsoft knocked on their door and laid off 80 people. Right.
So I always feel like whenever a developer comes out and they say, Game Pass really helped our game, it's like, it's always a super small indie developer. It's never a AA. It's never a AAA studio.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Right. But Game Pass itself has pros and cons. For a consumer, it's all pro. I can't think of a con really. For a developer, it may have its own pros and cons. For an indie developer that can have a guaranteed, cash advancement or whatever, as opposed to putting it out there and just hoping they get sales, that's probably, that probably saves that company.
Right.
But yeah, in 5 years though, I think that we're going to see games not only on the Xbox/PC format, but you're only going to be able to play them with a Game Pass subscription.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure on that one because I feel like they'll still give the option to buy it at a discount.
I don't think these aren't going to be like AAA. This isn't going to be Gear 7. This is just going to be games that they make just for Game Pass.
Okay. And Thick, my question for you, it feels like the market is going in maybe a different direction with free to play, right? Like I look at Game Pass and I'm like, how does Game Pass compete with free to play? And I don't see how people can, I guess what I think of is like single player has a hard time being free to play, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It seems like could Game Pass be like for a single player kind of player?
No, I think they still have options there. For example, on the computer or on PC, they give you all the characters in Riot games.
Okay, right. I think yeah.
So we'll see more of that. Like Game Pass gives you like the more premium version of the free to play game.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's one way to entice them. And if you play like a single player, like every so often, then it might be a good value to you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these free-to-play games too sell like a starter pack for like $30 or something.
Yeah.
And you may get that.
Okay. Thick, how much is Game Pass in 2028? I want a budget. I want a budget accordingly. What is it right now? It's $15 or is it $10?
It's $10.
15 for Ultimate.
For Ultimate.
10 for regular.
10 for just Game Pass and 15 for Game Pass and Gold.
Plus Gold, yeah.
Right.
And PC. That's
right, and PC, yeah.
So Ultimate gives you the PC, plus it gives you 2 free games a month?
Yeah, PC Game Pass is also just 10. So any Game Pass version, standalone,
okay. Yeah. All right. So Thick, you got to answer my question. How much is it in 2028?
I think for regular PC or PC or regular Game Pass, that'll be probably like 12 or 13.
Oh, really? Very minimal. Very minimal.
For that. But then for Ultimate, I see it going to probably 18 to 19.
Under 20.
Yeah, I would agree with that. At $19.99 probably something.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I think one feature they'll add to Ultimate is the option to stream your own games. And that will be tied to the Ultimate only.
Wait, what do you mean stream your own games? What is
games that you own? Any game you own.
Oh, okay. I got you. Okay.
Yeah, they're adding more of those with Game Pass because you can stream some games with Game Pass right now.
Yeah.
And also I said this before. Some of them you can just go to a browser and stream. You can go to Xbox.com and click on Halo Infinite and click play, and you're streaming it through the browser.
Right.
Yeah.
I know, I kind of always think of Game Pass as like it's like the Empire building the Death Star, or at least what Xbox is doing right now with their mass acquisitions and cheap Game Pass for everyone. But then I've been looking at like the news recently, and what's the movie that the main character says, "If it bleeds, we can kill it"? Is that the Predator?
Maybe.
Is that the Predator? He's got the green blood in the foliage, and they're like, if it bleeds, we can kill it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm seeing these kind of like articles where like Microsoft's laying off X number of
green blood. I like how you said green blood.
Oh, that's right, green blood. And I'm like, it's just interesting to be like, well, maybe the Death Star has a little like a window that if you go through the trench run,
a ventilation shaft.
A ventilation shaft. Yeah, maybe it's possible. You never know. And just Jim Ryan's our Luke Skywalker, right?
Yeah.
Does Luke
Jim Ryan, save us.
Yeah, because let's blow up the competition so there's only Sony. That'll be great for everybody.
Guys, let's try to stay
$900 consoles.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of 2028 Game Pass, we'll definitely see the family plan, 100%.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, they don't have that already?
It's in testing right now.
Yeah, it'll probably be out this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that seems like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
Are either of you sharing Netflix subscriptions with family?
People share with me.
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't know of.
Okay, because I don't know if people are clamping down, if Netflix is clamping down yet, but the headlines say that they are.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about it. If it happens, it happens.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
If it bleeds, we can kill it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have to pay for it. I mean, I could live without it.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
Yeah. Well, as you can hear in all our voices, we're all kind of winding down, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Scott, how would how would you reach this podcast? How do you find us?
We're on YouTube if you're not watching this right now, and we are also on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts and also Google. So pretty much wherever you get podcasts. And you can also reach us at the Supply Drop Podcast at gmail.com.
Wow, you should be our host. That sounded phenomenal.
No, that's okay. Wow, I got a wizard.
Yeah.
All right, Thick. Any final parting words for this week?
Not this week. I'm not ready for it. Yeah.
Okay, that's all right. Well, right now the band is playing us out, and we have to say we'll catch you 7 days from now, everybody. Thanks for stopping in.
Get Windows 11.
Yeah. Happy President's Day weekend.
Yeah.
Right. Adios.
Yeah.